The great throne room of Zephyria gleamed with crystal walls that caught the light of 3 suns. Queen Lyrale sat on her silver throne, her blue skin shining like starlight. Her forearms moved gracefully as she spoke with the nobles of her court. These aliens came from many worlds, some tall and thin like walking trees, others short and wide with thick armor-like skin. The queen's long silver hair flowed down her back as she listened to reports from across her kingdom. The Celestial Alliance was strong, she thought. 12 different alien races worked together under her rule. But something was missing. Someone was missing. Princess Arya had been gone for 2 years. The queen's only daughter had left on a mission to study the outer worlds. Her ship had gone silent near a small blue planet called Earth. The queen had sent many search teams, but they found nothing. Some whispered that the princess was dead. A loud sound echoed through the throne room. The great doors burst open with a crash. Guards rushed forward but stopped when they saw who walked in. Princess Arya stepped into the room. But she looked very different from when she left. Her once perfect royal dress was gone. Instead, she wore simple brown clothes that looked worn and dirty. Her purple skin had new scars on her arms and face. Her silver hair was shorter and tied back in a simple way. But the biggest shock was not how she looked. It was who walked beside her. A strange creature followed the princess into the room. It stood on 2 legs like many aliens, but it was different. Its skin was a pale pink color. Dark hair covered the top of its head. It was shorter than most of the aliens in the room, but it walked with confidence. The court fell silent. Even the queen could not speak for a moment. This creature was unlike anything they had seen before. It wore dark blue clothes and black shoes. Its eyes moved around the room, taking in everything but showing no fear. "My daughter," the queen finally said, her voice shaking. "You have returned." Princess Arya smiled and walked toward the throne. The strange creature stayed close beside her. "Hello, Mother. Yes, I am back. Where have you been? We searched everywhere for you. We thought you were dead." The queen's 4 eyes focused on the creature next to her daughter. "And what is this thing with you?" The nobles began to whisper among themselves. Some pointed at the creature. Others moved back, afraid it might be dangerous. The tall tree-like aliens from Corvin Prime whispered in their clicking language. The short armored Durians rolled their eyes in circles. "This thing has a name, Mother," Princess Arya said. Her voice was stronger than before. "His name is Jake Sullivan." Jake Sullivan stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Your Majesty," he said in a clear voice. "It is an honor to meet you." The queen stared at him. His voice was smooth and calm. He did not shake with fear like most creatures when they first met her. "What are you?" she asked. "I am a human, Your Majesty. From the planet Earth." A loud gasp went through the court. Everyone knew about humans. They were one of the newest races to discover space travel. Most aliens thought of them as barely more than smart animals. They had only learned to fly between stars a few decades ago. Compared to races that had traveled space for thousands of years, humans were like children. "A human?" The queen's voice was sharp. "Why did you bring this creature here, Arya?" "Jake is not a creature, Mother. He is a person. He saved my life." Princess Arya moved closer to Jake. "When my ship was attacked by pirates, I crashed on Earth. Jake found me and helped me. He is brave and smart and kind." Commander Kex, the queen's military leader, stepped forward. His red skin was covered in battle scars. "Princess, humans are primitive. They barely understand basic science. This one probably helped you by accident." Jake looked at Commander Kex but said nothing. His face stayed calm, but his eyes showed he understood the insult. "He did not help me by accident," Princess Arya said, her voice getting louder. "Jake fought the pirates when they came to Earth looking for me. He built weapons from scrap metal. He made plans that saved both our lives. He is more clever than any of you think." The queen stood up from her throne. Her long dress flowed around her as she walked down the steps. She stopped in front of Jake and looked down at him. He was much shorter than her, but he did not look away from her eyes. "You are far from your home, human," she said. "Why did you come here?" "Because your daughter asked me to come with her, Your Majesty. And because I wanted to see the stars." "The stars?" The queen almost laughed. "Do you think you belong among the stars, little human?" "I think everyone belongs among the stars, Your Majesty." Even humans, some of the nobles laughed at this. Others looked surprised by his confident answer. Princess Arya smiled proudly. The queen walked around Jake, studying him like a strange new animal. "You are very bold for such a small creature." "Do you know who I am?" You are Queen Lirelai, ruler of the Celestial Alliance. You control 12 worlds and command the greatest fleet in this part of the galaxy. Your people have built an empire that has lasted for 3,000 years. The queen stopped walking. She was surprised that he knew so much. Your daughter taught you well. Actually, I learned about your empire from your own history books. Arya gave me access to your computer systems during our journey here. I wanted to understand your culture before I met you. This surprised the queen even more. Not many people bothered to study alien cultures. Most races kept to themselves. And what did you think of our culture, human? Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I think your people have built something beautiful. You have brought peace to many worlds, but I also think you might be missing something important. What could we possibly be missing? Commander Kex growled. Jake looked around the room at all the different aliens. You have great wisdom and great power, but sometimes it takes fresh eyes to see new possibilities. The queen's eyes narrowed. This human was either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. Princess Arya stepped forward again. Mother, I know this is strange, but Jake has shown me that humans are not what we thought they were. They have gifts that we do not understand yet. What gifts could this primitive race possibly have? The queen asked. Princess Arya looked at Jake and smiled. You will see. Queen Lirelai stared at her daughter for a long moment. The throne room was so quiet that even the soft humming of the crystal walls could be heard. All the nobles waited to see what would happen next. Arya, the queen said slowly, you have been gone for 2 years. I need to know exactly what happened to you. And I need to know why you brought this human to my court. Princess Arya lifted her chin. She looked just like her mother when she was determined about something. Mother, I will tell you everything. But first, there is something important you need to know. What is it? Princess Arya reached over and took Jake's hand. The touch was gentle and natural, like they had done it many times before. Jake is not just someone who helped me, Mother. He is much more than that. The queen's 4 eyes focused on their joined hands. A cold feeling began to grow in her stomach. Who is he? The queen demanded, her voice getting louder. Princess Arya looked right at her mother. A small smile appeared on her face, not a happy smile, but the kind of smile someone makes when they are about to say something shocking. He's the human I married, she said clearly. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The words hung in the air like a bomb that had not exploded yet. Then the explosion came. What? Commander Kex roared. The nobles began shouting all at once. Some screamed in their own languages. Others fell back in shock. The tall aliens from Corvin Prime made high clicking sounds that meant extreme surprise. The armored durians rolled into balls and bounced around in confusion. Silence! Queen Lirelai's voice boomed through the room. Her forearms spread wide and her eyes glowed with anger. Everyone be quiet. The room became silent again, but everyone still looked shocked and scared. The queen walked toward her daughter and Jake. Her face was dark with rage. What did you just say? I said I married him, Mother. Jake is my husband. That is impossible. You cannot marry a human. They are barely more than animals. They just learned to leave their planet. They know nothing about our ways. Jake stepped forward. His voice was calm and respectful but firm. Your Majesty, with respect, we know more than you think we do. You be quiet, the queen snapped. I am not talking to you. But Princess Arya moved in front of Jake. If you want to talk to me, you have to talk to him too. He is my husband. We are partners now. Commander Kex stepped closer, his red face getting darker. Princess, this is madness. Humans are a primitive species. They have no technology, no culture, no honor. How can you lower yourself to marry one of them? Lower myself? Princess Arya's voice became dangerous. Jake saved my life. He fought pirates. He built a new engine for my ship from spare parts. He taught me things about courage and love that I never learned in all my royal education. The queen began to pace back and forth. Tell me exactly what happened. Start from the beginning. Princess Arya took a deep breath. 2 years ago, my ship was attacked near Earth. The Vrex pirates damaged my engines and my communication system. I had to make an emergency landing on the planet's surface. The memory came back to her clearly. She had been on a routine mission to study the outer worlds when the pirates found her. Her ship, the Star Singer, had taken heavy damage. She barely made it to Earth's atmosphere before the engines died completely. I crashed in a place called Nevada, she continued. It was a desert. My ship was damaged and I was hurt. I thought I would die there. She remembered waking up in the hot sand. Her leg was broken and her arm was bleeding. The ship was partly buried in a sand dune. She had tried to send a distress signal, but nothing worked. Jake found me the next morning, she said. He was working on a construction project nearby. He saw the crash and came to help. Jake had been building a solar power station in the desert. When he saw the strange ship fall from the sky, he could have run away or called the government. Instead, he came to help. At first, I was afraid of him, Princess Arya admitted. I had never seen a human before. I thought he might hurt me or try to sell me to someone, but he just wanted to help. She remembered how gentle Jake had been. He brought her water and food. He made a splint for her broken leg using sticks and cloth from his work clothes. He did not ask questions about her blue skin or her pointed ears. He just helped. The pirates came back 3 days later, Princess Arya continued. They were looking for me and my ship. I thought we were both dead. This was the part that changed everything for her. The Vrex pirates had tracked her ship's crash site. They came in a small attack ship, ready to capture her and take Jake prisoner too. But Jake did not run away, she said, looking at him with pride. He stayed to fight with me. Jake had never seen alien technology before, but he learned fast. He helped Arya fix her ship's weapon systems. When the pirates attacked, he used human tactics that confused them. He was unpredictable in a way that alien fighters were not used to. Together, we drove them away, Princess Arya said. But my ship was still too damaged to fly. We had to work together for months to fix it. Those months had changed both of them. Princess Arya learned that humans were not primitive at all. They just thought differently than other aliens. Jake could solve problems in ways that her advanced education had never taught her. And Jake learned about the galaxy beyond Earth. He was fascinated by alien cultures and technologies. But more than that, he fell in love with Princess Arya. Not because she was royal, but because she was brave and kind and smart. When my ship was finally ready to fly, Princess Arya said, Jake asked if he could come with me, and I realized that I did not want to go anywhere without him. The Queen's face was getting darker and darker. So you married him? Without permission? Without ceremony? Without thinking about what this means for our kingdom? We had a ceremony, Princess Arya said quietly. A human ceremony and an Elthari ceremony too. We promised to love each other and stand together always. You used the sacred Elthari marriage words with a human? The Queen's voice was deadly quiet now. Yes, Mother, because I love him. Commander Kex made a sound of disgust. Princess love is not enough. Marriage between species is forbidden for good reasons. What children could you have with this creature? What alliance does this marriage bring our kingdom? What does he offer us except shame? Jake spoke again, his voice still calm. I offer myself, Commander. My knowledge, my skills, my loyalty to Princess Arya and her people. Your skills? Commander Kex laughed. What skills could a human have that we need? I am an engineer, Jake said simply. I build things. I solve problems. I have learned much about your technology in the past 2 years, and I have ideas about how to improve it. Improve our technology? The Queen almost smiled. Human, our technology is thousands of years ahead of yours. Yes, Your Majesty. But sometimes being behind means seeing things differently. Sometimes new eyes can spot problems that old eyes miss. The Queen stared at him. This human was either very confident or very foolish. Mother, Princess Arya said, I know this is hard to understand, but Jake has already helped me in ways you cannot imagine. He made my ship faster and stronger. He taught me new ways to think about old problems. And he loves me for who I am, not what I am. Love, the Queen said the word like it tasted bad. Love is a luxury for common people, Arya. You are a princess. Your marriage affects the entire alliance. Then let the alliance benefit from it, Princess Arya said. Let them learn what I learned. Humans are not what we thought they were. The Queen walked back to her throne and sat down heavily. She looked at Jake for a long time. He stood straight and met her gaze without fear. Human, she said finally, you have caused great trouble by marrying my daughter. Do you understand that? Yes, Your Majesty, but I would do it again. Even knowing it might cost you your life? Even then, the Queen was quiet for a moment. Then she made a decision that surprised everyone. Very well, she said. If you truly believe you are worthy to marry my daughter, then you will prove it. Tomorrow you will face the trial of minds. The trial of minds had not been used in over 100 years. It was created to test the greatest thinkers in the galaxy. Scientists, philosophers, and leaders who wanted to join the inner circle of the alliance. Queen Lirelai sat on her throne the next morning, watching as servants prepared the testing chamber. The room was large and round, with walls that could change to show any environment. Special computers could create any problem or puzzle that existed in the Alliance databases. "Mother, this is not fair," Princess Arya said. She stood beside the throne, worry clear on her face. "The trial of minds was made for people who studied in Alliance schools for decades. Jake has only learned about our technology for 2 years." "Exactly," the Queen replied. "If he fails, it will prove that humans are not ready to join our society. And it will show you that this marriage was a mistake." Jake stood in the center of the chamber. He wore simple clothes, dark pants and a white shirt that Princess Arya had given him. He looked calm, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. "Jake," the Queen called out. "Do you understand what will happen today?" "Yes, Your Majesty. I will face 3 tests. If I pass them all, you will accept my marriage to Princess Arya. If I fail, I will leave and never return." "That is correct." "Are you ready to begin?" Jake nodded. "I am ready." The Queen pressed a button on her throne. The walls of the chamber changed to show a large game board. It was made of crystal and had many levels stacked on top of each other. Game pieces floated in the air between the levels. "Your first test is Zalaxi Battle Chess," the Queen announced. "It is the most complex strategy game in the galaxy. You will play against Master Vone, our greatest champion." A tall, thin alien entered the chamber. His blue skin was covered with tattoos that showed his many victories. His forearms moved gracefully as he bowed to the Queen. "Master Vone has never lost a game in 40 years, the Queen said. "He has beaten champions from every world in the Alliance." Jake looked at the game board. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. There were not just pieces on a flat board. There were pieces floating in 3-dimensional space connected by lines of energy. Some pieces could move up and down between levels. Others could only move sideways. Some could jump through space to different locations. "I have never played this game before," Jake said honestly. "We know," Master Vone said in a voice like wind through leaves. "That is why this will be quick." The game began. Master Vone moved his pieces with the confidence of someone who had played for decades. His strategy was perfect, built on years of study and practice. He controlled the center of the board and began pushing Jake's pieces back. But Jake did something unexpected. Instead of trying to copy Master Vone's perfect strategy, he began to play randomly. He made moves that seemed to have no plan. He left pieces undefended. He ignored the center of the board completely. "What is he doing?" Commander Kex muttered from the viewing area. Princess Arya watched carefully. She had seen Jake solve problems before. He always started by doing something that seemed wrong. Master Vone began to look confused. His perfect strategy was built on the idea that his opponent would try to play perfectly too. But Jake was not playing perfectly. He was playing like chaos. After an hour, something strange happened. Jake's random moves had created a pattern that nobody could predict. His pieces were scattered all over the board, but they were connected in ways that Master Vone could not understand. "Interesting," Master Vone said. For the first time in years, he had to stop and think about his next move. Jake began to move faster. Each move looked random, but together they created a web that started to trap Master Vone's pieces. The alien champion realized too late that chaos could be its own kind of strategy. "Check," Jake said quietly. Master Vone stared at the board. Somehow the human had put his king in danger. He moved his king to safety. "Check," Jake said again. This time Master Vone had fewer options. He moved his king again. "Checkmate," Jake said. The chamber was silent. Master Vone looked at the board for a long time, trying to understand what had happened. Then he began to laugh. "Amazing," he said. "You did not play the game we know. You played a completely different game. And somehow you won." Jake bowed respectfully. "Thank you for the game, Master Vone. You taught me a lot." The Queen's face showed no emotion, but inside she was surprised. "The first test is complete. You have passed." The chamber walls changed again. This time they showed a complex machine with pipes and wires and spinning parts. Lights blinked on and off in patterns. Steam hissed from broken connections. "Your second test is the Corvin engine problem," the Queen announced. "This machine has been broken for 50 years. Our best engineers cannot fix it. You have 2 hours to find the solution." Jake walked up to the machine. It was taller than he was and made sounds like a dying animal. He could see that it was supposed to generate power, but something was wrong with the flow of energy. He began to study the machine carefully. He traced every pipe and wire. He listened to every sound. He watched how the lights blinked. The Alliance engineers had tried to fix it using their advanced knowledge of physics and mathematics, but Jake approached it differently. He thought about it like a human engineer would, not as a perfect machine that had broken, but as a system that had grown and changed over time. This machine is over 1,000 years old, he said to himself. It has been repaired many times. Each repair changed it a little bit. He found the problem in a place where nobody had looked. The machine had been repaired so many times that the repairs were fighting against each other. Old systems and new systems were trying to work together, but they were not compatible. The solution was not to add more advanced technology. It was to remove some of the advanced technology and let the machine work the way it was originally designed. Jake spent an hour carefully removing the newer parts. Then he used simple tools to reconnect the original systems. When he pressed the start button, the machine began to hum smoothly for the first time in 50 years. "Impossible," whispered the chief engineer who had been watching. "We tried everything. How did a human solve it so quickly?" "He solved it because he is human," Princess Arya said proudly. "Humans do not always try to make things more complicated. Sometimes they make things simpler." The Queen nodded slowly. "The second test is complete. You have passed." The chamber changed one final time. Now it showed a scenario that made everyone in the room uncomfortable. The walls displayed a space station that was under attack. People were trapped inside and running out of air. There were 2 ways to save them, but both choices would cost lives. "Your final test is the dilemma of command," the Queen said. "You are the captain of a rescue ship. You can save the space station, but only by sacrificing your own crew, or you can save your crew, but the people on the station will die. What do you choose?" This was the hardest test. It was designed to see how a leader would make impossible choices. Most aliens chose based on logic: save the greatest number of people or save the most important people. Jake studied the scenario carefully. He looked at the space station. He looked at the rescue ship. He read about the people who were trapped and the crew who would have to die to save them. Then he asked a question that surprised everyone. "Can I change the parameters of the test?" "What do you mean?" the Queen asked. "I mean, can I try a solution that is not one of the 2 choices given?" The Queen frowned. "The test is designed to force a choice between 2 options. That is the point of the dilemma. But real life is not always about choosing between 2 bad options," Jake said. "Sometimes you can find a third option if you think creatively." He began to work with the scenario computer. Instead of choosing to sacrifice his crew or the station, he looked for ways to change the situation completely. He found that the rescue ship had extra fuel that could be used differently. He discovered that the space station had emergency systems that nobody had thought to use. "What if we do this?" Jake asked, showing his new plan on the screen. His solution was more dangerous and more complicated than either of the original choices. It required perfect timing and a lot of luck. But if it worked, everyone would live. "That plan has only a 30% chance of success," the computer announced. "But it has a 0% chance of requiring anyone to die on purpose," Jake replied. "Sometimes a small chance of saving everyone is better than a large chance of saving some people." The Queen was quiet for a long time. Finally she spoke. "Human, your solution would be considered foolish by most Alliance standards. It risks total failure to avoid certain sacrifice." "Yes, Your Majesty. But it also shows something that we have forgotten in our thousands of years of logical thinking. It shows hope." Jake waited. "The final test is complete. You have passed all 3 trials." The chamber walls returned to normal. Jake stood in the center, tired but calm. Princess Arya ran to him and hugged him tightly. "I told you he was special," she whispered in his ear. The Queen stood up from her throne. "Jake Sullivan of Earth, you have proven that humans possess qualities that the Alliance has overlooked. You think differently than we do. You solve problems in ways we do not expect. You choose hope over logic." She paused and looked around the room at all the nobles who had been watching. "But your greatest test is yet to come." Before the Queen could say another word, loud alarms began ringing throughout the palace. Red lights flashed on the crystal walls. The sound was so loud that everyone covered their ears. "What is happening?" The Queen shouted over the noise. Commander Kex ran into the throne room. His red face was darker than usual with worry. Your Majesty, we are under attack. A large fleet of Vrex ships has appeared in our system. They are moving toward the planet. The Queen's 4 eyes went wide. The Vrex Syndicate was the most dangerous criminal organization in the galaxy. They attacked worlds to steal resources and capture people to sell as slaves. But they had never been brave enough to attack the Alliance directly. How many ships? The Queen demanded. Over 200, Your Majesty. And they have some kind of new technology. Our sensors cannot track them properly. Princess Arya grabbed Jake's arm. The Vrex are the pirates who attacked me 2 years ago. They must have followed us here somehow. Jake nodded grimly. He had fought the Vrex before. They were cruel and smart, but they usually avoided big battles. If they were attacking the Alliance capital directly, they must be very confident. Send our fleet to stop them, the Queen ordered. Already done, Your Majesty. Admiral Kane has taken 50 ships to meet them at the edge of the system. But even as Commander Kex spoke, another alarm began ringing. This one was different. It was the sound that meant bad news from the fleet. A communication screen appeared in the air above the throne room. Admiral Kane's face looked out at them. The Admiral was from the Thorian race, tall and gray with large black eyes. Behind him, Jake could see the bridge of his ship shaking from weapons fire. Your Majesty, Admiral Kane said, his voice crackling through static. The enemy is using some kind of new tactic. Our formation is breaking apart. We cannot predict their movements. Through the screen, they could see explosions lighting up space. Alliance ships were spinning out of control. Some were already burning. Fall back to defensive positions, the Queen ordered. Protect the planet. We are trying, Your Majesty, but they are not fighting like any enemy we have faced before. They change direction without warning. They attack from impossible angles. Our computer systems cannot calculate their next moves. The communication cut off as another explosion rocked Admiral Kane's ship. Commander Kex turned to the Queen. Your Majesty, we must evacuate you to the secure bunker. If our fleet fails, the Vrex will attack the planet directly. But Jake stepped forward. Your Majesty, may I speak? Not now, human. We are facing a crisis. That is exactly why you should listen to me, Jake said firmly. I have fought the Vrex before. I know how they think. Princess Arya supported him. Mother, Jake, and I defeated a Vrex attack ship together. He understands their tactics. The Queen looked at Jake with surprise. In all the excitement about the marriage and the trials, she had forgotten that this human had actually fought the enemy that was now attacking her world. What do you know about their tactics? She asked. Jake moved to the communication console. The Vrex do not fight like military forces. They fight like criminals. They use chaos and fear instead of organized strategy. Your admirals are trying to fight them with perfect formations and calculated moves, but that will not work. Another communication screen appeared. This time it showed Admiral Kane's second-in-command, Commander Ross. Her ship was badly damaged and spinning slowly. The Admiral's ship has been destroyed, she reported. I am taking command of the fleet. Requesting instructions. The Queen's face went pale. Admiral Kane had been her best military leader. Your Majesty, Jake said urgently, let me help coordinate the defense. I know how to fight chaos with chaos. You are not a military officer. You have no training in space combat. But I have training in fighting the Vrex, and I have something your officers do not have. What is that? I think like they do. I can be unpredictable too. Commander Kex made a sound of disgust. Your Majesty, we cannot put a human in charge of our fleet. It would be madness. But Princess Arya stepped forward. Mother, our normal tactics are not working. The Vrex are winning. What do we have to lose by trying something different? The Queen looked at the screens showing her fleet in chaos. Ships were exploding. Her people were dying. In a few hours, the Vrex would reach the planet and begin attacking cities full of innocent people. Very well, she said finally. Jake Sullivan, I am giving you temporary command of the defense. Do not make me regret this decision. Jake bowed quickly and then moved to the communication console. Commander Ross, this is Jake Sullivan. I am now coordinating the defense by order of the Queen. Commander Ross looked confused. Who are you? I do not recognize your species. I am human. And I am going to help you beat the Vrex. First, I need you to break your ships into small groups. Stop trying to maintain formation. But our strength comes from fighting together in formation, not against the Vrex. They use your formations against you. They know where you will be because you follow patterns. We need to become unpredictable. Commander Ross looked doubtful, but she followed the order. The Alliance ships spread out across space in small groups of 3 or 4. Now, Jake continued, I want each group to act independently. Do not follow standard attack patterns. Be creative, be random. Make it impossible for the Vrex to predict what you will do next. This goes against everything we learned in military school, Commander Ross said. Good, Jake replied. The Vrex learned to fight against everything you learned in military school. We need to fight in ways they have never seen before. Princess Arya watched as Jake began to coordinate the battle. She had seen him work like this before. He did not try to control everything perfectly. Instead, he gave his people the freedom to be creative and then helped them work together. Group 7, I see you are near the enemy's left flank. Do not attack directly. Instead, pretend to retreat and lead them toward Group 12. Group 12, when Group 7 brings the enemy to you, do not engage immediately. Wait until they are confused, then attack from behind. Jake's tactics were completely different from normal military strategy. Instead of one big plan, he created many small plans that worked together. Instead of perfect coordination, he used controlled chaos. The results began to show quickly. The Vrex ships, which had been winning easily against the Alliance formations, started to have problems. They could not predict where the Alliance ships would be or what they would do next. It is working, Commander Ross reported, excitement in her voice. The enemy is losing ships. They are starting to fall back. But Jake was not finished. Now we spring the trap. All ships converge on the enemy flagship. But do not attack it directly. Surround it and cut off its escape routes. The Alliance ships moved like a swarm instead of a formation. The Vrex flagship found itself trapped in the middle of dozens of small groups that attacked from every direction. The flagship is surrendering, Commander Ross announced. The rest of the Vrex fleet is retreating. Cheers erupted in the throne room. The nobles who had laughed at Jake just hours before were now staring at him with respect and amazement. But Jake was not done yet. Commander Ross, do not let them all escape. Capture as many ships as you can. We need to find out how they got here and if more attacks are coming. Understood. We are pursuing the retreating ships now. Jake turned away from the communication console. The Queen was looking at him with an expression he could not read. Your Majesty, he said, the immediate threat is over. But we should prepare for the possibility that this was not the only Vrex fleet. How did you know how to fight them so well? She asked. Because I spent 2 years learning about them while Princess Arya and I were stuck on Earth. The Vrex who attacked her ship came back several times. Each time we had to find new ways to defeat them. Commander Keck stepped forward. His attitude toward Jake had completely changed. Human, Jake. That was the most brilliant tactical display I have ever seen. You saved our world. We all saved it together, Jake replied. I just helped everyone think differently about the problem. The Queen was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke in a voice that everyone in the room could hear. Jake Sullivan of Earth, you have proven yourself in the greatest test of all. You have saved my world and my people. You have shown that humans have qualities that the Alliance needs. She paused and looked around the room. But more than that, you have shown me that I was wrong about your species. You do not think like us, but that is not a weakness. It is a strength. Jake bowed deeply. Thank you, Your Majesty. Do not thank me yet, the Queen said with a small smile. Tomorrow we begin planning how to integrate humanity into the Alliance. And I suspect that will be an even bigger challenge than fighting the Vrex. Princess Arya squeezed Jake's hand and smiled. For the first time since returning home, she felt hopeful about the future. 3 days after the battle, the great throne room was filled with more people than it had ever held before. Representatives from all 12 worlds of the Alliance had come to Zephyria. They wanted to see the human who had saved the capital world, and to hear what the Queen would decide about his marriage to Princess Arya. Jake stood in the center of the room, wearing formal clothes that Princess Arya had chosen for him. They were blue and silver like the royal colors, but simple enough to be comfortable. He looked calm, but inside he was nervous. These 3 days had been some of the strangest of his life. The victory celebration had lasted for 2 days. The people of Zephyria had danced in the streets when they learned that the Vrex invasion had been stopped. But the real excitement came when they heard that a human had helped coordinate the defense. Humans were so rare in this part of the galaxy that most people had never seen one before. Jake had spent those 2 days in meetings with military leaders, scientists, and diplomats. Everyone wanted to understand how human tactics worked. They wanted to know about Earth and human culture. They asked 1,000 questions about everything from human technology to human food. But the most important meetings had been with Queen Lyreley herself. She had spent hours talking with Jake about humanity's place in the galaxy. For the first time, she began to understand that humans were not just another primitive species. They were different in ways that could benefit the entire alliance. Now, as Jake looked around the throne room, he saw faces from a dozen different worlds. Some looked friendly. Others still seemed suspicious. All of them were curious about what would happen next. Queen Lyreley stood up from her throne. She wore her most formal robes, long flowing fabric that shimmered with embedded starlight. Her forearms spread wide as she began to speak. "Representatives of the Celestial Alliance," she said in a voice that carried to every corner of the room, "we gather today to witness something that has never happened before in our 3,000 years of unity." The room became completely silent. 3 days ago, our world faced the greatest threat in our history. The Vrex Syndicate attacked us with superior numbers and new tactics that our best military minds could not counter. Our fleet was losing. Our people were in danger. Jake felt all eyes turning toward him. But we were saved by the wisdom and courage of someone who was not even a member of our alliance. Jake Sullivan of Earth, a human, showed us that there are ways of thinking and fighting that we had never considered. Murmurs went through the crowd. Some sounded approving. Others sounded doubtful. More than that, the Queen continued, this human showed us that love can bridge the gap between species. My daughter, Princess Arya, chose to marry him not because of politics or alliance, but because she saw in him the qualities that make a true partner. Princess Arya stepped forward from her place beside the throne. She wore a dress that combined human and Elthari styles, simple but elegant, practical but beautiful. She looked confident and proud. "Your Majesty," said Ambassador Thane from the Corvin worlds, "we all appreciate what this human did to help defend Zephyria. But does this really change our long-standing policies about contact with primitive species?" "Primitive?" The Queen repeated the word with a slight smile. "Ambassador Thane, I believe that word no longer applies to humanity." She gestured toward a large screen that appeared in the air above the throne room. It showed images of Earth, cities full of lights, ships flying through space, and humans working on complex technologies. In the past 3 days, our scientists have been studying human achievements. Yes, they are newer to space travel than we are, but they have accomplished in decades what it took most of our species centuries to achieve. The screen showed more images: human art, human music, and human innovations in science and engineering. More importantly, the Queen continued, humans think in ways that complement our own abilities. Where we plan carefully, they adapt quickly. Where we seek perfection, they embrace creativity. Where we follow logic, they choose hope. Commander Keck stepped forward. His red face was serious but respectful. "Your Majesty, if I may speak, I have spent the past 3 days working with Jake Sullivan to analyze the battle against the Vrex. His tactical approach could revolutionize our military thinking." "Explain," the Queen said. "Our traditional tactics are based on predictability and control. We train our officers to make the best possible decisions based on complete information. But Jake showed us that sometimes unpredictability itself can be a weapon. He taught our pilots to think creatively instead of just following orders." Jake stepped forward. "Your Majesty, if I may add something." The Queen nodded. The battle was not won because human tactics are better than alliance tactics. It was won because we combined different ways of thinking. Your pilots are brave and skilled. Your technology is amazing. But when we added human creativity to alliance discipline, we became stronger than either could be alone. Ambassador Thane looked thoughtful. "You are suggesting that our species could learn from each other?" "I am suggesting that we already have," Jake replied. "Princess Arya taught me about honor and duty. I taught her about adaptation and hope. Together we became better than we were apart." The Queen smiled at this. It was exactly what she had hoped to hear. "Which brings us to the decision we must make today," she announced. "The marriage between Princess Arya and Jake Sullivan is valid under both human and Elthari law. But more than that, it represents the beginning of a new relationship between humanity and the Alliance." She paused and looked around the room at all the representatives. I am formally proposing that humanity be invited to join the Celestial Alliance as our 13th member. Species. The reaction was immediate and loud. Some representatives cheered. Others argued. Everyone began talking at once. Silence. the Queen commanded. The room became quiet again. This decision will not be made today, she continued. It will require debate and study and votes from all 12 worlds. But I wanted you all to hear my recommendation. Ambassador Thane spoke again. Your Majesty, even if we agree that humans should join the alliance, there is still the question of representation. They have only one world and a small population compared to our major species. Jake had been expecting this question. Ambassador, humans do not seek to dominate the alliance. We seek to contribute to it. Our world is young, but our people are eager to learn and to help. What could you contribute? Asked Ambassador Vale from the wealthy Durian systems. Jake thought for a moment. We can contribute our adaptability, our creativity, our willingness to try new approaches to old problems, and perhaps most importantly, our hope. Hope is not a resource, Ambassador Vale said dismissively. It is the most important resource, Princess Arya interjected. Hope is what drives exploration. Hope is what builds alliances. Hope is what allows people to believe that the future can be better than the past. The Queen nodded approvingly. My daughter speaks wisely. The alliance was built on hope, the hope that different species could work together for mutual benefit. Perhaps it is time to remember that. The formal ceremony continued for another hour. Many representatives spoke about the challenges and opportunities of including humanity in the alliance. Some were enthusiastic, others were cautious. But Jake noticed that none of them dismissed the idea completely. Finally, the Queen made her concluding announcement. Today I formally recognize the marriage between Princess Arya and Jake Sullivan. Jake, you are now Prince Consort of Zephyria and my heir-in-law. She stood up and walked down from her throne. In her hands she carried a silver crown that was simple but elegant. More than that, she continued, I name you as the first human ambassador to the Celestial Alliance. Whether or not humanity joins us officially, you will represent your people in our councils. Jake knelt as the Queen placed the crown on his head. It was not a large crown or a heavy one, but it represented something that had never existed before, a human with official status in galactic politics. Rise, Prince Jake Sullivan of Earth, the Queen said formally. As Jake stood up, Princess Arya took his hand. Together they faced the assembled representatives from across the galaxy. This is just the beginning, Princess Arya whispered to him. Jake squeezed her hand and smiled. The best beginnings usually are. Later that evening, Jake and Princess Arya stood on the palace balcony looking up at the stars. The 3 moons of Zephyria cast silver light across the crystalline city below them. Are you ready for what comes next? Princess Arya asked. Jake considered the question. In the coming months, he would travel to Earth to help establish formal contact between humanity and the Alliance. He would work with human leaders to prepare for possible membership in the galactic community. He would help design exchange programs and trade agreements and cultural treaties. It would be challenging work. There would be people on both sides who opposed the partnership. There would be misunderstandings and conflicts and setbacks. But there would also be opportunities that no human had ever imagined. Humans would learn from species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years, and those ancient species would learn from humanity's fresh perspective on old problems. I am ready, Jake said finally. We will face it together. Princess Arya smiled and leaned against his shoulder. Together, she agreed, above them,